thanks for listening to Biz 15 and what has been, or what feels like, an age since we've recorded one of these before. I'm Don Brook from Brook Corporate Developments. I'm joined by Andrew Rowley, who's been on our podcast before, and the new Business Support Director now to Brook. Congratulations on the work that you've been doing and the new promotion.
Thank you.
We've been incredibly busy over the last 4 months, which has been obviously a great. It's been great for the business because we've had multiple projects that have been delivered across the region to our region's employers. How has that been for you, Andrew, on those contracts that you've been working on?
It's been hard at times. When part of the role is to make sure you maintain the relationship with the existing businesses as well, and then trying to fit this on top of that, it has been a bit of a struggle at times. But it's all been positive. It's been good. It's been new relationships with new businesses, which hopefully, the way that we work, then we'll develop those and take those forward.
What's the main project you've been working on?
Net Zero, which is Barnsley Council's project to try and get Barnsley businesses towards reducing their carbon footprint, which is it's been interesting. It's learned a lot from it, but again, it's been difficult because this is taking businesses that majority of them just don't have any understanding of what the net zero stuff is, to actually get them to start working in a positive way.
For anybody that's listening that hasn't come across, well, I'm sure you probably would have come across net zero before, but what is it? Well, I know it's a buzzword that is almost like the new lean manufacturing. It's a buzzword that people will hear and people will see and will try to understand, but I guess it is quite complex, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and the reason why it's called net zero is because a lot of businesses will not actually be able to completely eradicate their carbon footprint. So the idea is that it's to encourage businesses to have a more environmental aspect to the way they operate, and also it's to get them to actually look at wider things that can actually help that business. The net zero bit is that every business has a carbon footprint, and that relates to stuff that they can actually change themselves, which might be more effective or more efficient energy within the business. Things like having better lighting, heating, like we've got here, where if there's nobody in the room, then the heating turns off. But there's a lot of other things as well, and what people forget about is that every business that you engage with as part of your supply chain also has to be on this journey, otherwise you're not going to get to net zero.
It's almost like a blocker there, isn't it? Yeah. How are businesses reacting to it? Because as a consumer, when you're watching TV, there's global businesses that are then having advertisements around what they're doing to achieve net zero or carbon neutral. So you sit there and you see it, but actually trying to put that then back into practice in terms of what can I do in my business when you're seeing these big global juggernauts trying to do it. I guess that comes with a bit of an operational challenge, doesn't it? Because you don't know what you don't know. So how can you actually implement something that you're not aware of?
Yeah, and that's really what this project's about. It's actually giving the businesses some guidance on it, giving them some consultancy support as well, where they can actually start to pull together an action plan that will help them. And it's not all focused on the carbon reduction. It is actually tying things in with their normal business strategy, so that you've not got two things where you've got net zero over here and you've got the business strategy here. It's trying to pull those together so that a business is working under one strategy, but at the same time working towards reducing the carbon footprint.
Saw a really good image that was on LinkedIn, and it was almost like a sphere that had numerous different parts of net zero all the way around it, and the blinker was just on carbon neutral. But there's so many other parts to the project, and there's so many other parts to that kind of business achieving net zero, that I think people genuinely just see it as carbon going and that carbon neutral element, but there is quite a lot more around the terminology.
Yeah, I mean, a number of businesses that we spoke to were sort of, when you have the initial conversation with them, saying, "Oh well, we've put energy efficient light bulbs in place. We're looking at solar panels. We're looking at putting EV charging points in for electric cars." Those are the things that people think about, but really the ones that make a massive difference is actually looking at the supply chain, and it's people actually engaging with other local businesses, so that rather than getting their raw materials brought in from London or in some cases even abroad, it's can they do that, can they get that more locally? And people don't think about those aspects of it, that actual logistic side of it can have such a massive impact on a business's carbon.
And would you say that circular economy is what businesses are now starting to look at to overcome what would be a major challenge for them to achieve net zero?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, one of the businesses that we've worked with on this project has previously been importing goods from abroad, basically because they were cheaper. But they've now found another local supplier that can supply them. It actually costs more for the individual products, but then when they start to look at the impact on the business in terms of the carbon reduction and everything, then they're suddenly starting to see the benefit. And it's not, some people are not actually just looking at it from a cost perspective, they're actually looking at it in terms of this is what we need to do to actually save the planet. And I know that sounds a bit woolly and sort of hippie-ish or whatever, but it is actually a genuine reason, and every single business is going to have to start to take steps for it to actually make that difference.
What kind of businesses have you been working with on this programme? Because there might be some people that are listening that go, well, net zero is not for me, but it is for everybody, isn't it? And it's not just your typical kind of heavy engineering and manufacturing that's got multiple supply chains that have got ridiculous amounts of waste and have got so many delivery trucks that are all diesel. You've got different businesses as well that work on this program.
Yeah, really pretty much from every sector. We've got some construction businesses in there, and they've been driven by the fact that there's legislation that they need to do, so they need to sort of like start looking at this. But working with a football club, professional football club, there's a hairdressing business, travel business, which obviously people realise that it's a taxi firm, and they're obviously they've got a massive carbon footprint, and they're trying to do what their bit for it. And then we got some retail and some manufacturing, so it pretty much is across the board.
So it's a completely open book then, isn't it, for businesses? As long as they've got a desire and a need, then they can join the programme, or have joined the programme.
Yeah.
Why are businesses actually interested in it then? Is it because they know that something needs to change kind of across not just business but across kind of how we operate as individuals, or has there been any specific theme?
I would say that 60% of the businesses that have come through, or the person that's been responsible for taking action for the business, has got a desire to actually do the right thing, is one phrase that people kept saying, and that is to look after the planet for their children and for everybody else. 20% of them probably come through because they want to actually try and make cost reductions. So there's been a variety of reasons, but generally as people's progressed through this, the underlying thing is that everybody's realised that we actually need to do something, but by taking action to this, which is going to be good for the environment, is actually also good for the business. And they're starting to see that there's actually growth potential by doing this, because it will bring new customers to them, because there will be, for example, like the hairdressing business that's been working on it. It's not just a salon, it's a training school, and it's a supplier of products. And they are starting to now do like recycling for the businesses they work with, and this is now starting to bring other businesses in from outside the area. So that's the sort of thing that if other businesses have got a desire to take that step towards it, then they're looking for people that's also taking steps to reduce their own footprint.
I think it's really interesting because I went to a roundtable discussion last week, and they had a student from Barnsley College that was there, and one of the things that the student made a point of kind of getting across to business owners sat around the table was the student would almost like to go, or would want to go to a business in terms of leaving college, going to go and work, gaining employment for a business that is green and for a business that's got this infrastructure in place or this desire in place. And actually, if it wasn't, some of these students that are coming out who are the future of our local companies are using it as a differentiator to go, well, if that business is doing it and this one isn't, I'm going to go with the one that is because it's more aligned to that generation's kind of ethos, because they want to be able to have an impact in this area rather than working for a business that's going to have a negative impact. And I actually found that quite a bit of a light bulb moment to go, it is going to be used as a differentiator in recruitment, this, because businesses that aren't doing it are going to attract people of a certain mindset that actually the majority of innovators and new talent joining the market have got this way of thinking. And actually, if you're not doing it, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it is. And that is something that a lot of the businesses on this project have realised, is that it is going to be a good way of attracting talent, and as you say, that the generation that's coming through now, the next generation that's going to come in and be the workforce, are more conscious of the environment.
Has COVID had an impact on net zero then? So as just about the way that we're working, and we're working more remote, so there's not as much traffic, etc. But that comes with another challenge, because people are heating their houses more because they're in it. So you're kind of taking from one but getting another. So it's always, I don't know what the answer is to that.
No, and that is one thing that people have been working as in part of their action plans, is to actually look at that and try and address that, because you are absolutely bang on right. Your people said, oh, well, our carbon footprint's gone down because people's working at home, but it hasn't, because then when you start to calculate it, you've got to actually take that into account in terms of what's happening in their homes. Yeah,
and people, they're in their houses more, especially during the winter period when they're heating the houses more. Kettles going on more times, little things that just add up, don't they?
Yeah, kettle's one of the worst things. Yeah. People that put it on, boil it, don't make a drink, then come back and boil it again. You if you actually have got a smart meter and you see just what usage is on doing that, again.
And how will we get there? What are the if you can pick out, say, one or two things that are the major players in this kind of topic? What's the most important thing that we need to do?
I think it's an awareness and starting to it is that old adage that just by taking small steps it will actually have that impact. People switching to electric vehicles, yeah, it will have some impact, but at the moment there is an argument that actually costs twice as much in terms of carbon used to produce an electric car than you're actually going to save. Yeah. And it's same with solar panels. It can take a long time to recover that, but over periods of time, then they all will add together. I think for me, one of the biggest things that's been a light bulb moment for me, to use that phrase, is that by businesses actually engaging with other local businesses, that can have a massive effect by reducing unnecessary transport and various other things, and that just all then adds to benefiting the local economy. So that circular economy, are businesses embracing that from your experience on this programme? I think they're starting to do, yeah. I mean, obviously, again, it's not one of those things that you can do overnight, but they are doing it. And it's great to see that there's 35 businesses that's gone through this project, that's seriously gone through it and worked hard on it. And they're now starting to form their own little peer group. So they're helping each other, and where possible starting to sort of like trade with one another as well. So, that's a big positive. I think it's just an awareness piece, because that's not necessarily saying that business that's 2 miles down the road that you could buy components from is going to be, manufacturing to the right standards, or is going to be able to get the goods as quickly as what you want it. But it's more about the opportunity, isn't it, at this moment in time? There is an opportunity to do business locally. It's just exploiting it and getting the supply chain set up. So then you're not importing goods to then put it in a component to then ship it back out. It's contained, and it's all going to help
financially in the economy as well, because you're buying locally and you're buying from local people.
I think that's one of the big things that all the businesses that's come through have realised, that